We all want to be the fastest guy on the track, but there are also times when we want to do it in style. The MOZA Vision GS promises to deliver that experience with a high-end, rotating dash and strikingly futuristic styling, all at a fairly competitive price. So today, we're going to find out if MOZA has actually managed to deliver on that style without too many compromises on quality. This video is brought to you by SimSportGadget. Let's begin with the initial lookover. Right out of the box, it's immediately clear that the Vision GS has excellent construction. The frame and backplate are made of aluminum, which gives it zero noticeable flex, and it's a pretty big difference when we compare it to something like the MOZA GS V2P, which started to flex and squeak pretty noticeably for us after just a bit of use. Now, the Vision GS does use carbon fiber composite for the faceplate, which is not the same as forged carbon fiber, so the front of the wheel does give off a little bit of a plasticky impression, but to be fair, it's not a cheap plastic feeling, and it likely helps to save a bit of weight. Taking a closer look at the surrounding grip material, the stitching on it actually looks very professionally done. The microfiber leather material feels premium and has a good grippiness to it. We checked on how sweaty our hands got after 2 hours of continuous use, and while we might not have the sweatiest hands, the experience was generally very good. Now, for the shifter paddles, MOZA did elect to use forged carbon fiber, so they do have a premium look and feel to them, but beyond that, they also feel very good to use, though it's worth mentioning that they are on the quieter side of things if you tend to enjoy louder shifts. Moving on to the quick release, the quality is great, which is what we would expect of any NRG style QR. It's a tried and true system that's very strong with no flex. The RPM indicator lights up top also work very well and are bright and clear. But things are a little more mixed when it comes to the dials and controls. Starting with the rotary encoders on the bottom, they honestly feel a little bit cheap, especially when you compare them to the rest of the wheel's build. MOZA used a light plastic here, and although they certainly work just fine and exhibit little to no looseness or sag, they feel positioned a little bit out of the way, and would have been a bit nicer overall if they were made of something like aluminum. The blue thumb encoders, on the other hand, are actually of a very nice build quality, but ergonomically speaking, we would say they are probably placed too flush to the rest of the faceplate for best comfort. Both the joysticks and buttons are very decent, but they might not stack up against the offerings of other high-end wheels. Now, to some extent, this is certainly a matter of personal taste and opinion, but we would have liked more tactile feedback on both. A bit more travel and a slightly lighter minimum pressing force would be appreciated. Interestingly enough, it's the rear buttons that gave us the best overall impression. They have great tactility and clickiness, as well as wonderful build quality. So kudos to MOZA for executing very well on this relatively uncommon, but very welcome feature. Alright, let's finally get to the topic you've all been waiting for, the rotating dash. It's a beautiful screen, not extremely high DPI, but it is vibrant and bright. That being said, MOZA hasn't really solved the issue that we generally see with rotating dashes. The latency when you turn the wheel is actually very noticeable. The low frame rate also contributes to this feeling, but in all fairness, you won't really notice it when you're working on a straight line. From an aesthetic point of view, it's still a very cool touch, but functionally speaking, it's maybe not as useful. We're not sure where the bottleneck is, but Fanatec has tried the same rotating dash idea with their yet-to-be-released Bentley wheel, and they also seem to have struggled with that issue as well. Now, MOZA does provide a pretty full-featured editor for the dash display, as well as many pre-built templates, so you can choose and customize the look of the dash with quite a lot of freedom. When you interact with the dash display, the screen's touch sensitivity is pretty decent. If you're familiar with the touchscreen system of the average modern road vehicle, it's somewhat similar. So, it's not the same responsivity you would get from something like an iPhone, or even the touch displays in a Tesla, for example, but it is still certainly very usable. We really do just wish that the rotational latency wasn't quite so obvious. But yeah, that about wraps it up for our review of the MOZA Vision GS. It's a very cool wheel with generally excellent build quality. We love the futuristic styling, the feel of the microfiber leather grip, and the zero flex frame. We do wish that some of the dials and buttons could give better tactile feedback, or even just have a bit more of a premium feeling, given that this is MOZA's top tier offering. Also, while that rotating dash is very cool to look at, the latency it has when you turn the wheel can be quite noticeable and distracting, which means it's more of a cool visual feature than a useful tool. So, all in all, we think this steering wheel is a very good value proposition. At $750 USD, it's certainly not cheap, and it's not perfect, but the general build quality, styling, and rotating dash do bump it up quite a bit when you match it up against the competition. In any case, what do you think of the MOZA Vision GS? Have you had a different experience with the latency of the rotating dash? Let us know in the comments down below how you feel about it. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out our sim racing mods and accessories at SimSportGadget.com. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.